brutality in the United States, for example. They had an exhibit. They had collected shoes from a number of the people who had been assassinated there and brutalized by the police. They had shoes that was on the floor of the deceased. And it made me think of all of the people in the United States, all of the who have suffered from the police brutality over the centuries. That is something that we could do. We were thinking about, what we can do, because as Paul pointed out, the struggle is also against propaganda and the lies in the media. And that is one way of breaking through that wall of lies. And it was something very simple, and very captivating, because we know who stood in those shoes. And we know the suffering of the mothers and the fathers and the siblings and the children of each individual who was slain and brutalized here as well as there. And so it was something, it was a very moving experience. My wife was focusing also on the struggle of the women, the personal struggles in their families that they had to endure when their loved one was killed by the British military. And the other similarities I think about, Ireland was the first of the British colonies, and then went on to colonize much of the world, including North America. So we have a lot in common. The differences I don't think are that important. Is that human beings are struggling to have a decent life, just to be treated as human beings in the fullness of that sense. And so we're grateful to you, Paul and Piera, and the others, Maeve. I can't remember all the names, but there was just a outpouring of love to us. And we deeply appreciate that, and hope that we can also continue to internationalize our struggle here in Detroit.
Yes.
No matter what particular branch of the struggle you're involved in. The struggle that we need today to focus on the unity among us, and the unity between us and the peoples of the other countries that are experiencing these same injustices, whatever names or labels we apply to them. It's the spirit of fighting for justice that unites us and make us like one family. So I want to thank you again for the hospitality.
Great, it's good to be here. It's good to be among friends as well, and people who've suffered the same as myself, because I know what it's like to be a victim. I know, and obviously they have to sort of live with that, and then when you come to a certain period in your life and they learn, hold on a minute here, we can no longer just keep ourselves as victims. We've got to be campaigners. We've got to be out leading the charge in terms of getting justice for not only for Bloody Sunday, but for all victims of murder, and certainly state murder as well. And the similarities here with the police force that we had for many years, and where people obviously from a certain religion would have joined because you can beat or torture or kill with impunity. And the George Floyd thing was just, I was going to say unreal, but it's not really that unreal, but shocked the world to see how this guy felt he was going to get away with murdering George Floyd, and he was shouting, "I can't breathe." You've been in the area, classic bullet victims. Children denied, their families denied justice, the protection of the forces and their soldiers as well, and that's the main ultimate game of it. Soldiers. There have been a lot of soldiers over the years, and some of them wouldn't have ever understood why they were here. But of the caliber of these armed, uniformed thugs and terrorists, they certainly knew the job they were here to do, because they had this experience around the world, and they created around that world as well. It's this sort of culture of ignorance and tolerance and sort of blind eye. Just do what you have to do, and they held with the consequences. And that's the way Bloody Sunday was as well. And they said that they believed that the children and the families of the deceased were going to forget about it. Well, they were wrong. And I remember going around knocking doors of victims who were maybe their sons were killed, they were going, they can't, it was too hurtful and too raw to still to go back and sort of re-traumatize yourself. But when people realise the importance of the lie that was told about the victims of Bloody Sunday, and about how important it was that we should do this. Now people from Derry